Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The final weekend of qualifiers of Major 1 is pretty much upon us. Two very important scrim sets going down last night. OpTic Texas spotted playing Boston, a team that's given them serious trouble in recent weeks, and then the Falcons as well. Falcons spotted with a roster change after another disastrous weekend last time out. They will go again with a new roster, it seems, going into the upcoming days. Did it make any difference to their numbers? Well, not according to the results we saw last night. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. I wanted to start here actually with some maps, although this is pretty funny as well. Illy, of course, has been going through the saga over the last couple of weeks, starting with Illy changing his game attack to Yoda, and then this guy Tyler took Illy COD, and you know, then there's been a lot of a back and forth on this. Illy, of course, then went back to Illy, but it took him a few days to figure out what was going to be happening there, and Tyler now officially has the YodaKing ads, but Illy's gone back to Illy as, well, was probably what he should have done all along. But to be fair, the whole Illy saga has the YodaKing saga has brought him back into that kind of conversation. Maybe it's going to help him get picked up after Major 1, who knows, but you know, his game attack is still going to be the one that he won his world championship with. Now, this was a map that Illy didn't play because he wasn't in the league yet back in Black Ops 4, but this was Arsenal. There's been some talk on which maps that Treyarch should bring back, which maps are coming next, what potential DLC maps and previous games might return in upcoming DLCs, just what maps in general. Now, I think one thing that's notable is that the maps that they're bringing back right now are not any of the Black Ops 2 classics, or even like any classic original shipped maps with Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2 games like this. Does make me think that there is a serious likelihood that next year's title indeed is going to be Black Ops 2.5 or whatever. It's actually this year, isn't it? 2025. The rumor is that obviously Black Ops 2 was set in 2025, and in the year 2025, they are planning some sort of Black Ops 2 sequel or something, which is likely going to consider, as did Modern Warfare 3, all of the original MW2 maps in the same way that this Black Ops 2 sequel will have all of the original BO2 maps. Something to that effect makes me think it's likely, just because they're not bringing any of them back now. There's no raid, there's no standoff, nothing like that. There's no Yemen as it stands anyway coming back into this game. This, of course, is a BO4 map Arsenal, a legendary map at that, and as of yesterday, we have the new map names for Season 2. So we have Lifeline, Bounty, Dealership. Those are actually the two ones that seem like they may well be sized right, but that's a question. And then Grinds. Now, I'm sure you guys will know the name Grind. I'll discuss it more in a second. Before we get there, let's have a look at these maps and see if there's anything viable in here, because we are kind of begging for it right now. A lot of the pros aren't big fans of Skyline, red cards, and, you know, understandably so. Protocol is not great either. The map set outside of Vault is not great, and of course Hattienda came in and improved things. This is Bounty. Now, like, I don't know, I look at this, it's like a hotel setup again. I don't know if they've just like straight ripped this from another hotel, as they did with the Breenberg Hotel map a couple of years ago from the Conservatorium Hotel in Amsterdam, or whatever it was. Anyway, the map layout on the top right hand side, it's square, okay, it's rectangular, but you know what I mean. Square maps are typically 3-lane maps, and that's kind of what we have here, although this like middle connector of the lane is a little bit confusing. I look at it, I'm not convinced. I actually look at the cover, and just even in this first shot, and I think I don't really see it playing very well. The map that maybe has a bit more potential is this one. I think for Search and Destroy this could maybe work, but this is Dealership, and well, the one thing that you'll notice first of all is because it's a dealership, there's loads of cars everywhere. It's like that San Sena border crossing or whatever. It's not as bad as that, but you guys remember that map from a couple of years ago. It does mean there's lots of cover in cars, and well, you better hope that snaking gets removed or the pros don't do it anymore, and we're going to discuss that later on today, if this map is actually going to play well at all, because if somebody's going to be snaking these car headies again and again, that's going to be difficult to stop. But yeah, this is the map layout on the top right-hand side. Again, it's the medium. It might have a chance. There are some lanes here, but there are lots of cars everywhere, and I think it might be quite awkward to play. Maybe for Search it's all right. I think there might be a possibility there. So these maps, we'll see. I guess we'll see. The map that I know what it's like is Grind. This is Grind, and it's coming back into the game. They're bringing it back, of course. It was a Black Ops 2 DLC map. I think it was in the first DLC that they dropped in BO2. Grind was one of the more well-liked maps in that title. Excellent map for public matches. It was honestly just brilliant fun, and snipers loved it, right? It was like, if you were going to get clips for a montage, this was often the map to do it with the way that the spawns worked and everything. But it's a very standard 3-lane map design. Like, you've got one lane on the left, one lane on the right, down the middle, and it was never played in competitive back in BO2. There were better alternatives, but for this game, it honestly might be alright. I think one thing that is a little bit worth noting is that back in Black Ops 2, the colours and even when they, I think, brought it back in BO4, the colours just felt more vibrant. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but this is what it used to look like on, let's say, the Treyarch, engines, if you want to describe it like that. That's how people used to talk about it anyway. So this is what it used to look like, and this is what it looks like now, I guess. It's just a bit dull, isn't it? And it's always been a thing with Infinity Ward games. Even Hacienda has the same thing, but look, whatever. That's not really a big deal. Does the map play well? If it's good enough, it may be good enough. I don't know. It's coming back anyway. It actually was played, not competitively, but this was just like a fun series in the All-Star game they played back at CWL Miami 2019 when they brought it back in BO4. They played a few maps, Icebreaker, Firing Range, Nuketown, Hacienda, etc. But yeah, they did play Grind very briefly, so it has had some competitive outing, but it's not exactly expected to be a competitive map, but right now it may be all we have. Now, let's talk about some scrims, because there were plenty of maps being played yesterday, such as OpTic versus Boston, and then OpTic versus Falcons. Tomorrow, as in actually no, today, they play reportedly FaZe and Los Angeles Thieves, so it's going to be a big one tonight. But OpTic played Boston, of course, a scrim set and a map set that they've struggled with against Boston, really. I mean, we know that Boston are pretty damn good. I like their team. I think they've done a good job putting it together. And Boston fried Ravens just the other day. Purge dropped an absolute masterclass on the Vault. And, well, we'll get into that in a second, because that seems to be continuing right about here, even on a map that OpTic are generally speaking pretty good at. But yeah, so clearly Boston have some potential, but over the maps they played, OpTic won the scrim set relatively comfortably, 5-2, especially because they won both controls, Hassi and Protocol. The Vault got chalked for some reason. So there was talk about the first two maps on a bad server, OpTic players are pinging higher, so then they change the servers around. That may explain to some degree this result here on the Vault. But look, we'll run through them anyway, because we know that this Boston team, on paper coming into the season, you think, okay, they looked alright at the World Cup, but, you know, maybe top 8 at best. But they look right now like they could be a top 5, top 4 challenging team at the moment, and they've been looking very solid. So these just some scoreboards going through the maps, really. We'll have a look at some more detailed scoreboards with all the actual numbers here in a second from JP's perspective, but they won the Protocol OpTic 250 to 163. Shout out Radiation as well for getting all of these screenshots as of last night. They won the red card 250 228. OpTic, Shotzzy dropped, actually what, this is highlighting Awakening, dropped 53 eliminations here, but for the loss, it is a point with Awakening, isn't it? Because pretty much every series he's played so far has not been especially great. But, you know, and Snoopy, Cammy, and Purge have been doing most of the heavy lifting. If Awakening starts to cook as he used to, it's obviously a talking point. Maybe Boston could be even better than they have so far appeared. They won also the Skyline, the Boston guys, 250 to 219. And this was the big one, really, here on the Vault. And sure, we talked about server cheese, and Purge was actually bottom of the leaderboard this time, although he did have the most hill time in the entire lobby. But OpTic got 70 point clubs here. You do not see that every day. And, you know, talking about the servers and stuff, maybe fair enough. But it's tough to imagine many teams even capable of putting OpTic in this kind of a predicament compared to, well, what we're going to see against Falcons in a couple of minutes' time, where nothing was anywhere near of the sort. So, yeah, Boston clearly have got some, you know, fire in them, but most of the maps they played were competitive, or OpTic won them, and this was OpTic winning the Hacienda. Of course, they actually played it, right? And Snoopy made that play around the outside of the map right about here to actually win Boston the game in the league match they played against OpTic, but OpTic won it this time in the scrim, 250, 208. Obviously, Dashy, Shotzzy, pretty even actual spread across the board there, really. Shotzzy with a great map, 30 and 25 with over 2 minutes in the hard point. Again, Snoopy looking pretty good. Tough to read into this all that much. But the bottom line is, OpTic played the scrim set, they won it 5-2. The scoreboards for the controller were just broken, as often they are, but maybe Boston getting some good practice in ahead of a very big weekend for them, where I think they do play Thieves and FaZe. I think that is their schedule, and that's who apparently OpTic are going to play today. Before we get, though, to the Falcons result, it's worth noting that in this scrim set, there's been a roster change here, it seems, with Falcons. So Wixel is gone. We know that kind of famously last week he had that series where he had a 1.3 and they lost comfortably. So maybe Clay and the guys over there, Looty, have decided, you know what, we need to try another academy player. It's really difficult, isn't it, in their position, because Xnid actually is a shooter. Their other shooter has gone home to Saudi Arabia for some reason to deal with personal issues, of which we have no idea what they are or when he may even return in kicks. And then Doom, Roxas. I mean, Roxas actually does try, but unfortunately, the talent just isn't there, in my opinion. And I think the same is true to some degree with Doom and the Wixel guy as well. But, you know, they brought in Wixel. They've now got rid of him. They brought in King. Now, crucially, this is not King a body. This is another guy. So, but apparently he's pretty good. I've heard good things about him, actually. But we'll see if it works, because they've brought in King, and pretty much the first scrim set they play is against OpTic. So, yeah, good luck with that one. Bit of a baptism of fire, and on stream as well. So, never might end particularly well. They ended up playing 7 maps during this series, OpTic versus Falcons, and yeah, it was a bit of a bloodbath, as you would expect. But, and I don't want to have too much of a conversation about a scrim, but as the weeks go by, if these results continue for Falcons, I mean, yeah, serious conversations are going to be had about whether they're even winning a match in the league this year, whether they're even going to get especially close to doing so, whether they need to, given that they're the richest team in the league, maybe need to spend a bit of money to get somebody else in. I don't know. Dashy has a good map here on the Skyline, 250 to 96. The Vault went 250, 190. So it's not like these maps were, you know, completely crushing. Obviously, Xnid, this is when he had his 55 kill masterclass against them in the league. Not the case this time around. But yeah, so you guys can see the numbers. And it's not like they were getting 100-point clubbed every map, but everything was pretty comfortable for OpTic. This was the protocol, 250 to 127. Doom goes 15 in 25. Xnid, though, 37 in 23. Now, maybe you can argue that you should never be going 37 in 23 for the loss, but if your teammates are all like -10, then it can happen, I suppose. And this is really the story of Xnid's life at this point, isn't it, right? Like, he is the only one to ever have a good map, really, on their team. He's not like he has good maps every map, but if there's somebody going off on the team, it is going to be him. And they really just need somebody else to step up a little bit here. Maybe they think King could be that guy for them. Didn't have his greatest map here. They played the red card. It was 250, 200. To be fair, this map, King 36 and 32, Xnid 36 and 30. So, you know, clearly one of their first scrims together as a team. So for Falcons, there's lots to learn. But again, you know, when you're making changes week to week from your academy to your main roster between weekends of CDL games, it's never really going to be a pretty sign, I wouldn't say. And then the final one, at least the scoreboard I've got here, is on the Hacienda, 250, 145. And yeah, look, I'm going to be honest. Rock says, I do think tries his best, but if there is a man who might be next to be replaced, like if they're going to make another change, they might have to look at him, just because his numbers have been pretty woeful recently. They played the 7 maps. They didn't play, they played the Vault, but they got scanner repairs. They chalked that up. They played 7 maps. The hard points are 1-5-0, and the controls, Falcons didn't even win a round. The Hacienda was 3-0 as well. It wasn't 2-0. Radiation confirmed that. The protocol was 3-0. So, yeah, none of this was a close at all, and it shouldn't be, right? OpTic should be slamming them. But yeah, it's not a great sign for Falcons. They've obviously made this roster change. Is it going to work out? As you guys know, I'm not especially convinced. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. The big date, though, is tonight, because OpTic will scrim, presumably on stream. No mini-map, it seems Los Angeles Thieves want to get rid of, but FaZe and Thieves. Will there be overreactions? There will be overreactions. But it might be kind of telling going into the final weekend of qualifiers, where we are not going to see these teams play each other before we then, I think OpTic played Toronto final game of the weekends, but they're not going to play FaZe or Thieves this weekend. But they may well play them at Madrid, and that's crucial. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Damn! Who's got Who got the half-pound shit? If you got the half-pound shit, listen.
Wait, where's that at?
Bro, go to...
Yo, ain't
shit.
nobody that hungry for that much meat. You're not that hungry ever for that much meat, right, Jet?
Nah.
You guys get the half-pound shit?
Nah, that's jail.
Investigated.
You guys, that's a